The Cave of Two Lovers is the second episode of Season 2 of Avatar: Last Airbender, the greatest show of all time, at least in my opinion, hopefully yours too. And for a very, very long time, this has been my guaranteed skip every time I rewatch the series. I'm pretty sure it's because of the hipsters, but we'll get to that later. First, I'm gonna have to remind you to like and subscribe. It will really help out the channel. Comment which episode I should do a breakdown on next. And without further ado, let's get right into it. The opening of this episode helps with our continuity, and that is so important in a show like this that goes over several seasons. It's a pretty chill, just laid back scene, but the training between Aang and Katara really shows the continuity of Aang becoming a better waterbender. Without it, we just see his jump in power without any sort of training on the daily or the regular. It doesn't feel satisfying that he actually becomes more powerful then. That is why it's so important to show training throughout the season, little continuity, so we get that incremental steps to being a master that he becomes later in the series. It also, we get that cute flirting that between Aang and Katara that we need to set up this episode, since it's obviously a love focused episode, so it's good we get that energy that we need in this episode to really get that theme to work. But yeah, I just loved seeing the gang hanging out, and this is a great opening. Then we are introduced to the nomads, which comes walking in, and they were the main reason I skipped this single episode on every rewatch. Before the Imprison, before the Great Divide, those I was okay seeing through, but this one I always skipped. And looking back, maybe I was a little harsh, but these nomads really get on my nerve. Like, I was too hard on them, I must admit, but they are still not great. The music is bad, I'm sorry, it's not charmingly bad, it's just annoying. And talk about annoying, the whole way they talk, the stoner vibes, it's just cheesy. And yeah, they are pretty funny sometimes, I guess. How they said no while being invited to come to a marshal with them, and they just like, that's hilarious. Honestly, I kind of laughed out loud with that one. But otherwise, they're pretty annoying most of the time. I don't feel like they add anything to the episode that wouldn't have added with just the gang being there. I feel like they don't add anything except cheesy songs and stupid stories. I don't know, they're not my taste, at least. Aang, however, that is my taste, and he's getting a great episode here. The love story really needs to go forth. We haven't really seen the love angle since the fortune teller in season 1, so it's good that we revisit that theme, since it is important to the story. Although it is never at its best when focused on them as a couple. It's okay, but it's never the best that the Avatar can give us. And it's a little cliche, obviously, and how they get separated also pretty cliche, that just them two get separated from everyone else so they can have their kiss. And the awkwardness of Aang is so funny when the Katara brings up to kiss. It's so funny, and I love how bad he is at flirting and everything, and it makes sense, he is just a kid, but it's just so relatable, because I've personally done that when talking to a girl, and it went equally as bad, I can say, or even worse. And one more question, did they kiss? And it's a great question to ask an adult man sitting in his underwear on a Tuesday afternoon, but let me tell you, I believe they did. From reading the vibes, as the kids say nowadays, I have concluded that they in fact did kiss. But yeah, moving on to Sokka, he's kind of the straight man to the hippies the whole episode, and it definitely works. Like, that's a character or role Sokka often plays. And now that I think about it, like examples are like how he plays against Jet himself, and then the fortune teller he plays against the fortune telling, and he's for logic and everything. So he often plays that role as the kind of straight man to an absurd thing, or as he perceives as absurd, and it works. He's definitely in his bag in this one. He's nothing wrong, and he's kind of the thing that makes the hippies kind of manageable, because he kind of acknowledged the stupid nature of some things they do. moving on to the B plot, and here we see Zuko and Iroh just some shenanigans in the beginning. Iroh like trying to cook his tea, or not cook his tea, but like use the flour, and he didn't get affected. It's like, it's stupid Iroh, and it's good to get that out here early since he becomes more of a serious character over time. The whole show does, so it's good that we get these Iroh silliness here, and it quickly transitions into becoming a pretty deep side of the story, and we get some great scenes, especially with the girl and Zuko, and they really have a connection, and the guilt that Zuko feels is so obvious and clear that he hasn't gotten over that, and that is the thing that in season 3 he later gets through, that it isn't his fault. Like, he wasn't guilty of anything, of doing these people wrong. He simply was put in this position and is a victim of his father, and he needs to accept that. And here he really feels like he holds himself responsible, and that's a classic manipulation tactic from his father that he seemingly frequently used on Zuko, since how Zuko is, obviously. But yeah, it's a start of Zuko's dishonorment, I call it, and he's kind of gone rogue here. In the last episode, he left the Fire Nation, cutting off his hair and really showing that he's not Fire Nation anymore, and he steals here and he lies, and it's kind of a little mini arc during the season, which makes Zuko's arc so compelling, since he goes over this magnificent magic super big arc while also going through these little arcs in the middle, and that's so important during this such a long series over 3 seasons. We can't just have the same arc all the time, but here we get a little, like, he gets a little dishonorment. He didn't do this in season 1, he didn't steal, he had some sort of honor that he clung to. Here he really descends into just a savage, a samurai like man just traveling the lands. That's what Zuko is here, and his descent into dishonorment is pretty great, honestly, because it really shows, and it's really obvious why he does it. He does it for his own survival, at least in his mind, and it's a great scenes that we get here from the B story, which I previously skipped, but now I feel like they are really what carries this episode. So overall, the hippies are slightly annoying, I must admit, and there's no good action really. Like the bats thing, it's not great action, and that's no surprise here. It's not that funny. We have some funny moments, but some are kind of incidental, I feel like, and we get some good hippies and Sokka dynamic, but like I said, hippies are mostly annoying, so it kind of doesn't work for me. There's a great cliffhanger ending though, when they walk over the mountain and see Umashu captured. It's a great cliffhanger and really gets me going into watching the next episode. I watched it right after because I just felt like doing it. It really is a good cliffhanger. We also get some cute moments in here, especially between Katara and Aang. I feel like the romance is handled very well here. It's a really stepping stone for Katara, since it's mostly being Aang on the crush side, so it's good that Katara gets up there, and she kinda is also a little awkward, also a little relatable, as we see in these scenes. So I like their story here actually. It's a lower tier episode though, especially for season 2 standards. It's definitely a good episode. It's not a horrendous thing, and it's not a skip definitely like it was earlier in my days, but yeah, it's a decent episode, and if you like the hippies more than I do, then definitely it's a better episode. It is kind of a classic in many ways, but so if you like the hippies more, you probably like this one much more. Thank you for watching this far. If you liked the video, please hit the like button, as well as subscribing for one new video each Thursday. But yeah, that was all for this week, so until next time, have a great one.